That's right. It doesn't matter. Rain, sleet, snow. This isn't the Bills Steelers, man. We're not postponing the show because it's a little bit dangerous outside. Now, this is one of the best parts about doing our job inside. But other than that, we're not going on the road for this one. Obviously, we are remote. We are from home today due to the inclement weather, the snow outside. It's been a very interesting morning so far, especially when you have a couple animals that have never seen the snow before. That makes it a little bit more interesting. But we're glad you guys can join us. Got a heck of a show for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. A lot going on, obviously, in the world of the NFL, in the world of college football, college basketball, NBA, and so much more. We appreciate you guys joining us. This is the Monday edition on the remote road, if that's what you want to call it, neutral site of Crane & Company. All right, and we're back. That was a kick to the intro, but that didn't work out very well. I'm going to bring in my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane, former Michigan quarterback David Cone. Guys, I want to start, and typically I come in here with a monologue or something off the top, kind of about this word in fit, right? We hear this all the time, not just in college football. We hear it in the NFL. You hear it in pretty much every job or every walk of life, and I agree with Josh Pate. In the fact that the term fit is such an overused and really misunderstood term. One, do you want to have somebody that understands the lay of the land as a leader in that area? Yeah, it helps. It's not going to hurt you, but it isn't the biggest decision. It isn't the main factor. I know Brian Harsin didn't work out at Auburn, but that wasn't because Brian Harsin wasn't from the South or that he didn't understand how college football works. It's that he didn't work hard enough in recruiting. It said he didn't do the things on the outside or the dirty work that a head coach has to do in the Southeastern Conference, regardless if you're Nick Saban or you're Kirby Smart, to be able to attain a lot of success. So hearing this, Kalen DeBoer, he's not from the South. He really doesn't understand it. He's probably going to struggle. If Kalen DeBoer doesn't win at Bama, it's not because he isn't from the South. It's not because of where he was born, right? It's because he did not do something right along the way, or, to be honest with you, it's damn near impossible to fill Nick Saban's shoes. That's just the truth. But this whole, I'm from here, so I can't have success here. Yeah, it's an advantage to know where you're at, right? But it's also not the biggest disadvantage in the world to be from another region of the country. So I've been seeing that. He doesn't know how to recruit. It's about the staff you put around you. The manager at Coca-Cola doesn't need to be from the same place where Coca-Cola was invented to sell it well. It's about who you put around you, the staff, the recruiters, the guys with the relationships that are already built in to make that transition a little bit easier. And then you go work your ass off and you go win. So, David, I'm going to kick it to you first. This term fit, first off, what do you kind of think about what Kalen DeBoer's done with the staff so far? We see Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator, coming over after Jedd Fisch gets the Washington job. Just kind of what are your thoughts on the staff he's putting together and this whole fit term, which, again, if that was the case, then nobody would ever coach or lead or run something outside of where they live, and we stopped doing that hundreds of years ago.
Well, the two best ways to fit in anywhere are to achieve at a high level and to be a high character member of your community. I mean, that's just proven over time. Ed Orgeron was a great fit at LSU, and he had one great undefeated season, and 2 years later, he's out. Scott Frost was a great fit at Nebraska because he played there. He's not the head coach there today. So I think, Kalen DeBoer's future will depend on, is he able to achieve at a high level? And if he is, members of the Tuscaloosa community will embrace him with open arms, and he will never have to pay for ribs at Dreamland Barbecue again. Now, as far as the staff goes, when we've seen Kalen DeBoer have the most success, he's had Ryan Grubb on the staff, either as his offensive coordinator when he's been the head coach or as a position coach when Kalen DeBoer has been the OC. Well, the first big domino has fallen because he's going to bring Ryan Grubb with him to Tuscaloosa. And if you're taking over the biggest job of your career, it's nice to have a little bit of cohesion and bringing a guy that's coached with you at all of these different levels. Now, we've also seen when Kalen DeBoer has had the most success, he's had Michael Penix Jr. as his quarterback, whether it be at Indiana or whether it be at Washington. But we also saw him coach up Jake Haener at Fresno State. So look, he's had Ryan Grubb on staff, and he's had an elite quarterback who has either played on Sunday or, in Michael Penix Jr.'s case, will play on Sunday. That's why I find the most fascinating piece of this to be who's going to play quarterback. You have Jalen Milroe, who finished, sixth in the Heisman Trophy voting, and you brought in Will Rogers, second in all-time passing in the SEC, to Washington for a reason. It was a great fit for Kalen DeBoer. It was a great fit for Will Rogers. Now he's re-entered the transfer portal. Is he going to come to Tuscaloosa? Does he want to get into a quarterback battle with Jalen Milroe? When you look down the stretch, I mean, just looking at some of Jalen Milroe's stats, a little rocky early, and then the last thing in our memory is the game against Michigan. But throughout the course of the season, when he got better and better, 65.8 completion percentage through the air. He did throw for 2,800 yards and a touchdown to interception ratio of 23-6. That's without even talking about what he can do with his legs. So one way or another, I think Kalen DeBoer is going to have plenty of options when it comes to who's going to lead this offense.
Blaine, we saw T-Rob go to Georgia with Muschamp, obviously being an analyst and kind of taking a more off-the-field role. We'll see how the rest of this staff shakes out, what he's going to do with Freddie Roach, right? The biggest question becomes, and we saw this with Hugh Freeze at Auburn, and then I want to ask you, Blaine, a quarterback question before we get to the chat. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We obviously can't do live calls today, but we're going to get to the chat a ton, so I want to make sure and let y'all know that. Keep that thing cooking. If you do donate, obviously we'll read that at the top if it's relevant to the topic. But you look at Freddie Roach, people are talking about, will he be maintained or retained, however you want to put it. How much of the transition coaching staff, right? We saw this, like I said, with Hugh Freeze, where he kept Cadillac Williams and Zach Etheridge and guys that were from that place but knew the players, because you have to re-recruit your own players. It's not even about just having the high school connections. It's about trying to keep a damn roster halfway together. When the minute the head coach announces he's retiring or he leaves, you have that 30-day window where the portal opens up for guys who are eligible. We saw Isaiah Bond hop in the portal and go to Texas. I mean, Sark just picked up the bat phone and wrapped up another one for Quinn the Golden. But when you look to it at some of the DBs that have gotten the portal, it's a huge deal. That's a whole new recruiting wing. So how much, if it was you, how many of the guys that are already there are you going to keep on the coaching staff? And then two, and to me, most importantly, that I think is going to kind of write the message of year one of Kalen DeBoer, is how malleable, if Jalen Milroe is the guy, that's assuming Will Rogers doesn't come, because I don't think he's coming if he's not going to start. If Jalen Milroe is the guy, how much more quarterback run will we see? Or maybe the better question is, how malleable overall will Kalen DeBoer be to adjust him and Ryan Grubb's system to the personnel he has with Jalen Milroe to make that offense the most efficient, kind of like we saw Tommy Rees do from the LSU game and on?
Well, if you're Kalen DeBoer, first of all, I would think it'd be a blend, right? It'd be a balance. You bring the guys you have to bring from Washington, and then you keep the guys that keep the players' chemistry intact. And this is just really puzzling to me. Did y'all watch Will Rogers at Mississippi State before he transferred? It was a disaster. The kid's arm doesn't look the same. It looks like he's gone through 3 Tommy John surgeries. We're talking about a kid coming into Alabama and immediately challenging one of the guys who finished on the Heisman watch list for a job. If you're Kalen DeBoer, even if you brought him to Washington, you don't have to bring him to Alabama. This is another thing on keeping players. All right, you just lost Isaiah Bond. If you bring in Will Rogers, all right, you are putting up the chance of Jalen Milroe hopping in the transfer portal. Then you're putting all that eggs in one basket. And I haven't seen enough from Will, especially lately, to think that he can come in and challenge Jalen Milroe, even if I want those problems. But if you're doing this, and look, and go back, and I said this a little bit, Michael Penix, what Kalen DeBoer and what they can do and malleable on offense, you see Michael Penix in some quarterback design stuff. Not a lot, but it's there. So I think he can tailor that playbook to your player strengths. With Jalen Milroe, you open it up, and it could be even better. Jalen Milroe, if they get him where he needs to be, could be top 3 Heisman watch walking into the next year.
Well, it's what would worry me too. And again, this is just, I mean, to be honest, this just sucks as like a head coach to have to worry about. What if you say, all right, hey, I do want to keep creating competition. I know that Dylan Lonergan's here, right? We know Holstein got in the portal. He's gone.
Yeah.
But I want to create competition here and bringing in Will Rogers, the guy I promised a shot at Washington, right? Going into his last year, which feels like 30 years of Will Rogers. But if you bring him in and Jalen Milroe does transfer or decides to transfer, not that he would, but in that scenario, I could see a bunch of guys leaving with Jalen Milroe. I feel like Jalen Milroe is one of those kind of like flag carriers for that team that a lot of guys rally around, and they feel like, well, if we have Jalen Milroe, regardless, we're going to be fine. So if he does end up transferring, I don't know how many transfers that's worth outside of himself. But when you talk about Will Rogers, and it goes back to the question I asked earlier, I don't think Will Rogers is better than Jalen Milroe when you put both of them in offenses that suit their skill set the best. As good as Will Rogers was in the air raid, I don't think he is as good as Jalen Milroe can be in a true RPO style system that is taking advantage of his legs while utilizing Jalen Milroe's arm, because he does throw good enough. But let's not act like his legs aren't a huge weapon, because Jalen Milroe, to me, at the highest efficiency, is way more dangerous. And I know Will Rogers is close to setting SEC passing records and all this stuff, and that's great. Now, he has thrown it 8,000 times coming from Mississippi State, but I would take a full-strength Jalen Milroe in an offense that behooves his skill set 10 out of 10 times against a Will Rogers who's healthy in an offense that behooves his skill set. So that would be me, but I don't know. I don't know if that's what Ryan Grubb and them want to do, David.
Yeah, no, you guys are both making great points, especially, Blaine, when you talk about how Will Rogers was last year, even before the injuries. Listen to this. We all remember the 2021 season, right, when he just broke every record you can imagine. 74% completion percentage, 4,700 yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That was under Mike Leach. Even the next year, 68% completion percentage, threw for 3,900 yards. Again, 35 TDs, 8 interceptions. Unfortunately, rest in peace, Mike Leach passed away. Zach Arnett, a defensive-minded coach, comes in this past season, 59% completion percentage. Okay, I won't do the yards and the touchdowns and all that because he got hurt most of the season, but the completion percentage on 237 attempts is still a good enough sample size to understand there was something going on with the shoulder. So I think that's a great point. Now, in terms of what Kalen DeBoer would want to do in a perfect world, if he went out and got the quarterback that he wanted for a system that he's been running and had success, Jalen Milroe would not be that pick, right? I think we understand that. But you're coming into a situation where you get to be the head coach at Alabama. This guy was the quarterback and has developed throughout the course of this past year and made the college football playoff. Maybe this could actually be good for Kalen DeBoer to use a quarterback who has a different skill set to be able to try some things. And I'll stand by, any coach worth their salt needs to be able to get the most out of their players and adapt their system to the skill sets of the players that they have, even if it's not a perfect world situation on who they would recruit from the jump.
I agree with you 100%. And we're going to get to the chat. I want to get to there in 1 second. But speaking about adapting to your system, right? I know a lot of y'all last night went out, had a couple drinks with the fellas, the ladies, maybe had a watch party and got together. Maybe you're not feeling great this morning on this Monday. Maybe you're not, you don't have that pep in your step like you normally do if you wouldn't have gone out and had a couple cold sodas. Because look, we're not getting any younger, right? We can be honest here. 1 or 2 beers out with the guys, they can lead to a not so fun morning. But that's what you need. Z-Biotics. Science has figured it out. All right. Our ancestors would be amazed. It's magic. All right. What is it? It's a pre-alcohol probiotic. You drink it before you go drink. And then guess what? You don't feel as bad the next day. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That big H word. All right. It produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down, because it's not you getting dehydrated that makes you feel bad. Common misconception. It's not the dehydration. It's the byproduct. And Z-Biotics just beats it to sleep, and it's so much fun to watch. I use it. My wife does. Every time we're going to go out on date night or we're going to a watch party, anything like that, we check it out. It's Z-Biotics. It'll make you feel so much better than you would have felt in this certain situation. So go to zbiotics.com. That's ZBIOTICS.com/booster. You get 15% off your first order when you use code booster. Remember, drink it before you go drink. It's backed with a 100% money guarantee. So go to zbiotics.com/booster and use that code booster for 15% at checkout. All right, Blaine, let's dive into that chat.
Let's go, chat. Hey, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We're going to start it off with Sir Cody Wall. What's up, Cody? He says, Alabama will be fine. There are any SEC power that will probably take a small step back at some point. And all that means is they will share power with another SEC team more often of domination.
Yeah, look at, again, you're adding Oklahoma and Texas to the Southeastern Conference. It wasn't getting any easier. I also think they're going to go to a 9-game in-conference schedule, which they should now that they've gotten rid of divisions. But yes, it's cyclical. We know that. But I think we're getting to a time now and a point with this 12-team playoff where look, I know Georgia has gone on this kind of dynastical run, right? 2 out of the last 3 years. Hell, they may win it next year with what they have coming back and win 3 out of 4. But I do not think we are going to see the level of domination that we saw, because y'all remember it like I remember it. And I know Georgia just smoked people for the past 2 years. But when Nick Saban, and it didn't take long, got Alabama cooking very quickly, they were the best team in college football for a long time by a lot. By a lot. You'd have to catch 35 different breaks and make a deal with the devil just to have a chance halfway through the third quarter against these cats. I mean, we remember it. It was so dominating, right? And I think that's a little bit of why Saban's out now, right? Because I don't think you can dominate it like that anymore with the transfer portal, with NIL, with going to the 12-team playoff. So, yes, Alabama's not going to dominate the way they did under Saban early in his career, but they weren't dominating like that here recently, right? Alabama hasn't won a national championship in the last 3 years. Didn't make the playoff 2 years before this with the first overall draft pick. So, yeah, Alabama's been great. But let's not act like Saban's reeled off 3 or 4 more. Hell, I'm more worried about Georgia than I'm worried about Bama, if we're going to be honest. That's the closest thing when I squint my eyes and look at Georgia now. I see old Bama with Nick Saban, but still, even with Kirby, I don't see that level and that length of domination being able to be recreated, if at all, even one time by somebody in the SEC.
Well, college football is becoming more and more democratized with the the name, image, and likeness era and the transfer portal being wide open. So a lot of that's going to change anyway. I just hope Alabama fans recognize that that's what's going on at the same time that the greatest coach in college football history retired, and not expect this guy to win 5 championships in a row or something.
Let's go to D114N. What's up, brother? He says, Bama will lose at least 2 games this year, and I'm saying that before the college football playoffs.
Again, I would not be shocked. I mean, you look at that schedule. I mean, Blaine, you read it off when DeBoer got the job. You've got, at Wisconsin?
Yeah, you got Wisconsin by
week 1 at home.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia's home.
Georgia's home, yeah.
Okay.
Because they go to Wisconsin, and then they're
right.
off that week. But, I mean, yeah, I think that would be a smart money bet, right? Especially in year 1, right? With the new coach. I don't think that's crazy at all. I think most Alabama fans would probably expect that, believe it or not. Not the crazy ones that we all have in our fan bases that we all know, but the ones that are somewhat not Slick Willie.
You talking about Willie?
Yeah. Oh, Willie.
Ain't nobody tied.
Ain't nothing but the time.
Hey, but hey, talking about that 12-team playoff, now you can lose 2 regular season games and still have a shot at a national championship.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. I love it. Let's go to Lucas Blanchard with a $5 donation. Lucas, appreciate it, man. He said, thoughts on Blake Baker and Bo Davis to LSU. How much would this help the LSU defense?
Well, huge. And this is what we talked about when Matt Moscona was on, right? And what I asked him, was the feeling I get. And, I opened up the show talking about how, you don't have to be from a place to have success in that place. But it, it does help. It doesn't hurt you. But I think more of it is, have you coached at that place, or were you at that place, or did you grow up around that place when they were cooking, and do you understand like what's in the mud? Like, I know that Blake Baker and Bo Davis know the standard at LSU on defense. They've seen it. They, where Blake grew up, right? We know the connection that Bo Davis has there, having been there before, and Blake there too. They understand that LSU deep down, you can throw the ball around to Malik Neighbors. You can put the ball up in the air to Brian Thomas Jr. and Jamar Chase, and it's awesome. Well, watching Clyde Edwards-Helaire do his thing and Joe Burrow throw it around and Jane Daniels win the Heisman, that's awesome. But for LSU to get back to where LSU fans want, for LSU to be cooking at its ultimate highest, when you see this team on tape, or when your team's about to play this team, they ought to strike the fear of God in you when you watch them on defense and on special teams. That's how LSU was able to bow up and punch back at Bama. That's how LSU turned into this 800-pound monster. It was on defense. It's guys running around, making people pay the price every single play to play this game. And LSU had gotten away from that. LSU became more finesse. They went from Club Dread to Club Med, and it cost them. It's complimentary football at the end of the day. It's a balanced approach at the end of the day. But for LSU to have that intimidation factor, for LSU to have that fear factor. And no, I'm not talking about the show where they eat bull testicles and stuff. I'm talking about the other team being scared to death. Sorry, Joe Rogan. That defense needs to be run by somebody that understands what it takes at LSU for them to cook. And that's all that's all they need. And they don't have to be the greatest defense in the world. Nobody's asking you to be the Steel Curtain. Nobody's asking you to be the Ravens defense this year or with Ray Lewis. What we're asking is you go around, you make people pay, you keep the game close, and let your players on offense end up making the difference, or you make the difference on defense or special teams. But it's physicality, physicality, physicality. That and gumbo. Those are the two things I think.
LSU's defense used to remind me of like uncontacted tribes. You know,
oh, just
like,
crazy.
When like one person walks in there and you see him coming from every angle with spears and a bow and something like that.
You remember like some of the defenses they put on the field?
Oh,
yeah,
and then
I do.
Game and coverage. Yeah, David, I know you. Yeah, David does.
Yeah. When you talk about coaches, you'd love to have a coach that's from a specific area. We talk a lot about college football is my way of life against your way of life, right? Which is not the case for, say, the NFL. And even as someone who went 1,000 miles away from home to Ann Arbor, Michigan from the South, I'd say a lot of football programs have more in common than they have different. But still, if you follow that, that's why a lot of people are like, okay, when you bring in someone like Kalen DeBoer, how can it be our way of life against your way of life when you never even really been here, right? But for that to play out, you'd have to hire every single coach you ever have who's from the state of Alabama, which Bear Bryant wasn't, and Nick Saban wasn't, and
Nick Saban's from West Virginia.
Yeah, I know. And they have statues of those guys there. So again, achieve at a high level and you'll be fine.
All right, let's go to UT Parking. Says, why the hell would you want to follow Nick Saban unless they absolutely money whip you?
Well, and look, this is another thing I've talked about. It's not – you can't make big life decisions just purely based on emotion, right? You can't say, you know what? I'm such a hard ass. I'm so great at it. It doesn't matter if it's Nick Saban or Moses that was the coach before. That's not saying you run away from it. But you also can't be like, well, doesn't matter. Not going to be in the calculation, because that's a loser's way to think. No, you're looking at the whole job. Like if I'm Dan Lanning, why would I want – it's all circumstantial, right? It's just like anything in life. I'm Dan Lanning. Why would I leave Oregon when I can become Oregon's Nick Saban, number one? But why would I leave a place like that to go to Alabama, which is a big compliment to Oregon right now and where they're at? Just like Lance Leipold staying at Kansas and not going somewhere else is a huge win for that football program. But if you're Steve Sarkisian, why would you want to leave Texas, right, to go to Alabama? Mm-hmm. It makes no sense. It's all circumstantial. If this is your one shot to get that job, maybe Kalen DeBoer thinks if I don't strike now, even though I'm at a place like Washington, if I don't strike now, I'll never get this other opportunity regardless of who I'm following. Get it. I totally get that. But to sit here and say that it doesn't matter, that the greatest college football coach of all time is the guy that is going to precede you. The guy that preceded you. You will never be that good looking to the fan base. You will never be able to recreate that magic that he recreated because they hadn't had it in 40 years, whatever it was. So yeah, it needs to go into the calculus. Yes, it needs to go into the decision making that, hey, if I'm sitting here, if I'm the artist, it's like on Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, right? You remember Blaine when he's going out to perform for the first time? And the guy in front of him's Elvis. Yeah. And he's like, right, they're like, all right, hey, Elvis, great job. He comes off the stage and he's like, oh, I got to follow Elvis. And he's pissed off. He has to follow Elvis. There's a reason he's pissed off. I don't want to have to follow Elvis. And if I do have to follow Elvis, I want to be playing a totally different type of music. Right. So it's, I feel that. I understand that. I don't blame Kalen DeBoer for taking the job. Kudos to him. But it's all circumstantial, and that has to go in the calculus. We can't act like this is a decision of where you're going to eat dinner and just let emotion play into it. Like that's just such an average way to look at it.
I love the hire from both sides. I love that Alabama got this guy, a great head coach, and I love that Kalen DeBoer decided to jump on this opportunity. Completely different situations, like you're talking about with Steve Sarkisian at Texas or Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Like, yeah, you have to take that sort of stuff into account. What I find more interesting now is Jedd Fisch is going to take the Washington job and leave Arizona. I mean, I hate to see him leave Arizona with what he's built up over there, but now the question becomes, what's going to happen with the players over there? And you talk about a quarterback like Noah Fafita, who I have on my dark horse Heisman board too. I mean, the kid can just flat out play. Jedd Fisch going to go into the Big Ten now and coach Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think it's a good hire by Washington. It seems that Washington, is not afraid to go outside of the box. And if you look at, what Jedd Fisch has done, it's been incredible. And the way he's done it has been even more incredible. What I find interesting is, you look at now there's a hole at Arizona. If I'm Arizona, I mean, I'm calling Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator now at Alabama from Washington, who wanted the Washington job.
He
You
did.
saw him that said,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this job. He's looking to be a head coach. And you look at Arizona going into the Big 12, right? Or, going into the Big 12, where there's a vacuum at the top now with Oklahoma and Texas leaving. If you get the right guy in there and you're able to, again, re-recruit that own roster, Arizona could be a problem very, very quickly in the Big 12. But if those guys leave, which now they can, your head coach leaves, the transfer portal opens up. If I am Auburn or I am somebody that needs a quarterback that can do multiple things, I am on the phone right now trying to see if there is a way in hell I can get Noah Fafita to come and play for my team, because you saw the turnaround that Arizona had when Fafita, not that Jedd DeBoer was playing bad, he got hurt, but they legitimately had two quarterbacks last year that were winning. They had the best type of quarterback problem, right?
They were like
Kansas.
They were like Kansas. Like, you have
they're
two
like,
great quarterbacks.
So good. Like, I don't know. I would love to have the hell. Auburn can't find one guy that could do it, let alone having two right now. So I totally get it.
So with real quick, Blaine, with Ryan Grubb, like he clearly wanted the Washington job, didn't get it, and then there must have been a conversation with Kalen DeBoer where he's like, "Look, I'm going to be the head coach at Alabama. You're my guy. I need you. Come be the offensive coordinator. Let's run this thing." If you got the Arizona offer right now, if you're Ryan Grubb, is part of you already mentally committed to saying, okay, I do want to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama, even if it's for one season, let's go ball out. I'll get a head coaching job next year.
Yeah.
Or, and I know you can't read his mind, but do you say, okay, I wanted to be a head coach anywhere, I'll take the Arizona job?
Blaine,
I
read
mean,
his mind.
God, how long do you want to be at Arizona? That's the question. Because if you go in the ball year one, they'll throw it at you, especially after losing Jedd Fisch. If it's me, I'm staying at Alabama. I'm staying at Alabama. We have a returning quarterback. I mean, we have returning pieces. I know we lost some in the transfer portal, but Bama will be Bama with the pieces that they have. I mean, you can walk into a 1-loss, 2-loss season next year, and then you can almost have the pick of the litter of exactly where you want to go. That's a comfortable situation that you can see yourself being there the 3 or 4+ years. Man, Alabama is just it's that team before you go live your dream. Right? That's what it is. It's that team you go coach. That's always good, no matter who the head coach is. Once you do that 1 year, there's girls line up around the corner to come see what you got. A little bit of Yas flute on a Wednesday.
Well, it's like God, man, what was I going to say? They were talking about Tommy Rees. It's like just that's why I tweeted out like Tommy Rees. He is not going to be the head coach at Alabama, right? That's just not going to happen, regardless of how many guys they miss on. It's not going to be Tommy Rees, but they did him a huge favor. Like how good it looks on a resume when you're interviewed to be a head coach. Be like, well, yeah, I interviewed to replace Saban at Alabama, regardless if you got the job or not. I mean, that's incredible. It's like, yeah, Henry Ford showed me around his car. It's pretty tight situation. Yeah, you're gonna get a great job after that. So a lot goes into it, but man, I don't know if sometimes if you're ready to be a head coach, you're ready to be a head coach. In a place like Arizona, you've seen that they can win. They're in kind of a transitory period going into a new conference. It just depends on where you're at. And yeah, if you want to hang around that 1 year, who the hell knows? Maybe Kalen DeBoer goes to Bama. They ball out year one. Jalen Milroe wins the Heisman. They're great on offense, and the Florida job opens up, right? Then all of a sudden, Ryan Grubb ends up at Florida. Who the hell knows? But there's an old saying, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, right? Because if you go in there at Bama and all of a sudden year one, it kind of falls apart, right? And it starts stinking around there. It ain't Kalen DeBoer, and I know he's your boy. He's not going to be the first one that goes. So it's kind of, do I wait? It's that old adage, it's about patience. Just depends on if you're a doctor or not. But all right, one more, and then I want to get to the NFL.
All right, let's go to Landon Crow. Landon, what's up, dude? He says, give Kalen a couple years. Dude is a winner. He's won multiple games with the second best roster on the field. If he gets the recruiting down, he will be just fine. That's a big if, though.
I keep watching people say this. I mean, yeah, he has won a lot of games with the second best roster on the field, but he's also won a lot of games with like the best roster on the field. The question now becomes, Washington, the expectation's super high, right? And it needs to be super high. We know what they spend on athletics. You look, they're top 15 in the country every year. You look at the facilities they have, the loyalty and the tradition of that university in many sports. But when it comes to Alabama, and you're expected to not only to win, but have the best players on the field by a mile, that can be a little bit of a different animal as opposed to having that kind of underdog mentality going into the playoff, right? Having that underdog mentality of, oh, well, we're a Pac-12 team and we're not USC, so we're going to go out here and give it the old college try. The expectation's way different now. Not saying that they didn't expect to win where he was, but it's one thing to be the hunter. It's another to always be the hunted. And regardless of how he does, Alabama, and so credit to Nick Saban, and it's one of the best compliments I could give your team, Alabama for a long, long time will be the hunted. They will not be the hunter. Maybe you can trick the players into thinking that, but you're not going to trick the rest of us into thinking that.
All right, let's go to Michael from Texas. Michael, what is going on, brother? He says, who's got it better than the state of Michigan right now? Michigan national champions and the Lions first playoff win.
I tell you what,
32 years.
Yes, Detroit, stand up.
Incredible, kind of a blend of both. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy declared for the NFL draft yesterday. Wanted to make sure we hit on that, David, and I texted you right when I saw that because, look, J.J. McCarthy's his own man. I understand going out on top. I haven't seen the grades that he's gotten back or anything that the scouts have told him. Legitimately, I was surprised a little bit to see that he declared with as deep as this quarterback class is. And I wondered, and the reason I texted you, David, was, does this kind of give us a window or a preview into maybe what Jim Harbaugh will do?
Possibly.
Some other that he was meeting with the Chargers. So.
Yeah, he is good. Jim Harbaugh is going to meet with the Chargers, and possibly, I would still put it at like a 60% chance that Jim Harbaugh takes the Chargers job if offered it. So I don't know, like, will he officially be offered it? We know about the Spanos family. They're notorious for not, spending a lot of money when they do these head coaching searches, but they got to get this one right. So Jim Harbaugh very may well leave Michigan, but I don't know if this decision gives us insight into that because it's not surprising to me. I mean, J.J. McCarthy just finished a perfect season, 15-0, won the national championship. Like, if you want to ride out on top, no one can blame you, right? No one can blame you. And J.J. McCarthy is going to go down as the greatest quarterback in Michigan history, which is wild because I played with some really good ones too, man, with Chad Henne and with Denard Robinson. You think about what Tom Brady, what he was even able to accomplish there, Elvis Gerbach, Jim Harbaugh himself. But J.J. McCarthy will go down as the greatest because he has the wins plus the stats and all the accolades. I think he's the winningest quarterback in college football history, at least dating back to the early 70s, something like that. When you look at even some of the numbers when we were growing up with Ken Dorsey and some of those Miami teams, he's like taking that to another level with the stats that he had. So look, I don't blame the kid at all. I think he misses some throws that need to be automatic at the next level. I think we all know that. And this is the deepest quarterback class that we've seen ever because everyone got additional COVID eligibility. With that being said, I think he's going to wow at Pro Day. I think he's going to wow in the film room when he gets with some of these NFL scouts and GMs. He will get drafted. I don't think he's a first or second round guy, but maybe that means he goes to a better situation, can sit a year behind a guy or two. Jake, you were talking about the Vikings. Imagine sitting behind Kirk Cousins. And what I just saw Jordan Love do, who was able to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. Not only is he polished and ready, he looks like Aaron Rodgers. You can tell he was taking mental reps behind the guy year after year. Let someone like J.J. McCarthy with a high football IQ do that, and I think the kid will be just fine, and Ann Arbor wishes him nothing but the best.
Yeah, well, we're about to get what Jordan Love just did yesterday to the Cowboys. That was an absolutely incredible performance, but overall, that was a team loss from the Cowboys. But before we do, all right, I know you guys make New Year's resolutions. Maybe you're sticking to them, right? And maybe you've got that stick-to-itiveness and you're still getting after it. Maybe you need to get back in the groove. But there's nothing like when you're going out to run or when you're working out at the gym, or maybe if you're just hanging around doing stuff at the house, putting those earbuds in, playing your favorite song, listening to a book, listening to Crane & Company absolutely regale you with hilarious tales and great sports insight. But that's why we use Raycon, all right? Because there's a lot of earbuds out there that are way overpriced, all right, for what they get. They're not, you don't get great value out of them, right? They break, it seems like, every 3 or 4 weeks, and you have to go get new ones. Or you've got some that really aren't up to snuff. We have the perfect blend with Raycon. We've talked about it before. We all use them. They're everyday earbuds. They look, they feel, and they sound better than ever. They have the optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. It's not like stabbing yourself with that thing the doctors look at you with the light in your ear. These earbuds, they're so comfortable. They don't budge when you run, move, or work out. That's the best part about it. To be honest, I'm not having to fumble around with it or move wires or do any of that. And it's no wonder their everyday earbuds have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. So go to buyraycon.com/booster. That's BUYRAYCON.com/booster today. You get 15% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. That's buyraycon.com/booster to score 15% off and free shipping. Buyraycon.com/booster. Oh, man. You know, I don't like to get up here and just say, told you so. Right. Well, really outside of to you two guys, like in the real world. I just walk around Kroger.
Like
hey, Dak blew in the playoffs. But all year I kept saying, and I kept saying, talking about Dak MVP, Dak this, Dak that, Dak and Jerry with a wiffle ball bat, like all this great stuff. He's going to blow it in the playoffs. Right. At some point, when somebody shows you who they are, you have to believe them. And it's not all on Dak. What was Dan Quinn and the defense doing? They just walked through that whole game. They made the Packers look like the greatest show on turf yesterday. So it wasn't just on Dak. Yeah, Dak was bad. Yeah, Dak had a pick six. He was 41-60 for 403, had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, both huge interceptions. Obviously, the one that was returned for the touchdown. But good God, I'm looking at the Packers line. I mean, did the Cowboys even practice? Was Dan Quinn just out there interviewing for other jobs? Jordan Love goes 16 of 21, 272 yards, 3 tuds. Aaron Jones has 120 yards on 21 carries with 3 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs basically treated the Cowboys like Romeo did Juliet, if you know what I'm saying, with 151 yards and 6 catches and 3 different wide receivers. 2 wide receivers and a tight ended up with a touchdown yesterday. So, look, we can talk about Dak. We do need to talk about Dak. He was bad. I don't know what the hell was up with him and CeeDee Lamb in the first half of yesterday's game, how you can play this long together and this deep into the season and somehow not be on the same page at the most important time. But the real question now becomes, Blaine, what do the Cowboys do with Dak, and what do they do with sitcom dad Mike McCarthy?
It's over. It's over.
It's got to be, right?
It's got look, phenomenal regular season, but you keep doing the same thing. And Cowboys fans want championships. All right. That's what they want. It's starting to feel to me like, I don't know, Jerry, maybe give a call to a Jim Harbaugh. All right. Maybe you get called to a Harbaugh to come in here, and maybe you draft JJ late in that first round. And maybe you go with Dak a couple more years, and then maybe you give the keys to JJ. Either you do that, you're going to have the 27th pick. I mean, what quarterback are you super excited about?
No, what do we got to do to trade with the Bears?
27, because only if you can trade up to that 10 to 16 to 17 range, that's where you're looking at Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix and Bo Nix on where they're going in the first round. So you either live with Dak, all right, who's going to take you out on a bunch of nice dates, right? And then you're going to come home one day and he's going to be dressed in a Batman costume with just the top on in your closet. All right. You got to get rid of him.
Did you say just the top of the Batman outfit?
Yeah, just the mask.
Oh, just the mask.
It's 2 in the morning. Gerald, get out of my closet. That's what Dak Prescott is.
Oh, I have to say, yeah. Talk about following Elvis, man. That's like following Elvis. This one shocked me. I'm not gonna lie, man. This one shocked me. Jake, I thought when you were saying Dak's gonna blow it in the playoffs, and I agreed with you all season, that meant the conference round, possibly the division round, depending how the Eagles and the 49ers shook out in the NFC. Not in the wild card against the Packers, who had to fight their way in with Jordan Love starting for the first year. Like the Cowboys were I didn't think it'd come down to Dak, right? Because that defense has been so elite. And we're giving up 48 points out here. I understand the 2 picks, and the first one, a little bit questionable. The second one, just you're throwing the ball right to the guys. It's a pick 6. That one's on you. But man, that defense, like whatever the Packers wanted to do, the Packers did. Jordan Love put on an absolute clinic, and what helped him do that was the run game. The run game was opened up. Like, I don't know, this shocks me. When Mike McCarthy got hired in Dallas, I liked the hire because you have a Super Bowl winning coach who helped develop Aaron Rodgers. You're bringing him into Dallas, help develop Dak, and it's worked in the regular season. But man, this is a bad loss. This is one of those losses where it's like, can you really fire a guy after you go 12-5 and then you have a loss like this and it becomes a little more justifiable?
Yes. Well, it's and look, it's and I want to get to the chat and see what they think, but again, Dak is going to be the story. The quarterback will always be the story, and he didn't play very well. But the Packers, number one, it felt like they were playing with house money. Like they had nothing to lose. Like that old adage, they're too young to know they don't belong. Like you kind of got that vibe, but they're really not. Like if you look at kind of the makeup of this team, but yeah, watching Dallas's front seven just get smushed by the Packers. I mean, there were times where Aaron Jones wasn't getting touched for 6, 7, 8 yards consistently. It wasn't like, all right, guys, well, we were asleep this first half. We got to batten down the hatches. You gave up 7 in the first and the fourth, 20 in the second, 14 in the third, and it was whatever the Packers wanted. Guys were running wide open. Matt LaFleur was just like the girl from The Sound of Music on the top of the mountain, just dancing around, calling plays yesterday. Everything was working. It's like one of those days in basketball where you go out and you play and every shot's going in.
Yeah.
Like you're getting all the rolls.
I've never experienced it, but I heard it's fun.
Yeah, it's happened to me like 3 different times in my life, in my 34 years. And it's like you shoot when you're like, no way that's going in. And then it somehow miraculously goes in. It banks in or hits the back of the iron and goes up and then comes back in like impossibly. So the defense was the most shocking part. But you know, you sit here and understand it. Maybe if you're a Cowboys fan and you had won a Super Bowl recently, or you had just a ton of success in the postseason, it's just one of those games that it snuck up on you in a wild card and you lost. But an organization that typically has had success in the postseason wouldn't let that team sneak up on them. That's the problem here. Dallas just, and I use this term all the time, but it's like the Joker and Batman. Right? Like the regular season, they're just good. Just going to work, going home, right? Being good to the kids and your wife and paying your bills. And all of a sudden the playoff starts and just lose their minds.
Here's a name that's been going around. What about Bill Belichick to Dallas? Is that a mistake? Is that a mistake or would that be a good hire?
No. Does that feel right as head coach? No.
As a head coach, Blaine.
Here's what Blaine. Here's the question you got to ask though, and we talked about this. We led the show off with it on Friday. Like Bill, there's a lot of questions right now about Bill because Tom Brady won one without Bill Belichick, right? And Bill Belichick's just been an abject disaster since Tom Brady left, right? So everybody's like, well, it's really like Bill Belichick, one of the greatest ever, but kind of feels like a lot of it was Tom Brady. Deep down, I don't think he's done. I don't think he's ready to just, I just want to watch movies and like do Halloween stuff. Like, I don't think he's ready to do that. I think if he goes to imagine what's the best clapback for Bill Belichick against Tom Brady? Because doesn't just feel like them two deep down, they're just still competing against each other. Like it's about them two. It's really about nobody else. Like it's not about the NFL. So like, imagine if Bill Belichick were to take the Cowboys back to prominence and win a Super Bowl. Now, all of a sudden, it was Tom Brady, Bill. Like, yeah, you had a couple good defenses. Y'all messed around and played man at the right time a couple times. Like the Seahawks, threw the ball instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch. I think that's got to go into the ego at least a little bit, right?
There's no way Jerry and Bill are going to work out.
Do they even like each other?
There's no way that'll ever. You can't have those two guys in the same room for more than 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, like that's Croatia attacked somebody. Like you can't. Like there's no way. I don't think Jerry will put up with it. Bill sure as hell don't want to put up with Jerry.
No, and if you take this game, because that's the thing is he's had general manager control.
Yeah,
here Jerry drafts the players like that. But take this game out of it. Bill Belichick's strength is the defensive side of the football. Dallas has been elite on defense with Dan Quinn as the DC. So I guess maybe that's part of it too. Is with Dan Quinn. Is Dan Quinn going to get a head coaching job after this situation? I don't know. But you certainly don't have any room to regress on the offensive side of the ball if you brought in Bill Belichick.
I just want to make sure, Blaine, that I heard you right. Did you say that Dak Prescott is the guy where you like it's cool all the time, and then you come home early from work one day and he's just got the Batman mask on, like in the living room, like pretending to fight bad guys?
You're cool with your roommate, man. Y'all go bowling a couple times. You actually go play some pickleball. Next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and you wake up and he's naked with a Batman mask on in your closet.
Like only the mask.
Only the mask.
In your closet?
Yeah, in your closet. Only the mask.
Oh, no. All right, I want to get to the chat real quick before we get to this.
Let's go to Who's with a Z. You get his name right. Says, Dak was just being Dak. Way overrated. I'm a Cowboys fan, and this is just what he does.
Ugh. This one hurt.
I mean, yeah, but it's a team effort. That was a team effort loss yesterday. That was the whole team was bad. Hell, Brandon Aubrey, who didn't miss a kick like his whole life, right? Just started kicking field goals like the last year and a half. He's never missed one. Doinked that one extra point, right? It was just an abject disaster all the way through, man.
Let's go to
the Packers, man.
Yeah, kudos to the Packers. Want to make sure we get the Packers.
Yeah, a lot of kudos. I've talked a lot of ish about Jordan Love, but that dude is balling out.
Man, he looked like the way he maneuvers the pocket. Again, I'll say it. He looks like he's sat behind Aaron Rodgers and took mental reps every play.
That redshirt year.
Let's go to Aaron Dixon. He says, how about that Andy Reid snot sickles, fellas? Did y'all see that one?
That was incredible.
Yeah, I think that was like 45% milk. You know, I know we haven't really got a chance to talk about the Chiefs and the Dolphins. I know it was kind of an ugly game with the weather. Some people complained about the officiating, but I had the Chiefs winning. I thought it was going to be tough for Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, man, that was very interesting. Like they should have played the Chiefs Dolphins game.
Yes,
I'm glad they did. The Bills Steelers game, you could not have played. You couldn't play.
No, and the right decision was made in both cases.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Like you can't if there was a flood on the field, you would not play. Like if it was flooding, that's what it was like in Buffalo. Like there's some games where you just tough it out. We'll go no sleeves, right? There's other ones where like all of a sudden it's 2nd and 6 and I turn around and Dennis Quaid is walking in snowshoes trying to find his son, Jake Gyllenhaal in New York. Yeah. Like there's just different levels to it.
No, and I want to give the NFL props and both organizations and the players and the fans, everyone props for having that game go forward and making it an unbelievable experience. It was so much fun to watch. Imagine if you just built a dome stadium like so many places are going to, and you played that indoors. It wouldn't have been the same playoff experience. And just from a tactical standpoint, you would allow the track meet Miami Dolphins to come in and play indoors, whereas the way that it worked out, like Tua didn't even look like he could grab the ball and throw it downfield. Like you knew the Chiefs were going to win this game, and I took the under as well. But congrats or props to the NFL for playing this football game because everyone had an awesome experience, and that's why you handling your business in the regular season matters. The Dolphins could have gotten home field advantage in the last game of the season. They could have gotten it down the stretch of the season. Instead, they had to go on the road, and we talked about it all season. Is this the type of team you really want to go on the road in the AFC in late January? And you saw what happens.
This is why we always say the teams, especially in a playoff format postseason, whether it be basketball, whether it be football, baseball, whatever, the teams that not only survive the postseason, but thrive in the postseason are the ones that can win the games in the most ways, the ones that can win the game in the most different ways. If your whole season comes down to, oh no, the weather's bad, so we can't do one thing, so we're going to lose, your ass didn't deserve to win it in the first place, right? You've got to be able to win high-scoring games in basketball when the shots are falling and they're making shots too. You got to be able to win the rock fights. You got to be able to win games where the weather's so bad you can't throw the ball. You got to be able to run it, right? You have to find a way. And the teams, I always say, the best utility outside of fertility is versatility. And look, say what you want, but this is who the Dolphins have been, right? That's why, and home field advantage is huge, David. That's why, right? Because you do get that advantage of saying, well, it may not be ideal conditions. Hell, you look at the Bills are a throwing team, but they understand that come playoff time, the weather may be so bad that we can use it to our advantage if we get used to it and we're able to run the ball. We can't just be a one-trick pony. So I think a lot of that goes into it, and that's why the Chiefs, again, what's made them the scariest this year is that they have not played well on offense, but they're still winning games. How? With defense. And you're just waiting and waiting and waiting to see if this Chiefs offense can eventually not figure it out to the level where we've seen them have historic offenses, but be good enough to play true complementary football. Then all of a sudden you're going to look up and that witch Mahomes is going to be running around in a big game, closing his eyes and throwing the ball behind his back and doing all type of crazy stuff. I'm just telling you, man, the Chiefs is scary. It's scary out there right now.
My two things quickly, the NFL, for all the props David wanted to give you. I hate you for putting that game on Peacock.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Not much for sure.
And two, Josh Allen. You have to stop the Chiefs. You are the last hope.
This is the year. Yeah, this is the year,
our
man.
last hope. If I have to watch Taylor Swift swag surfing on the TV one more time, Josh, they're poisoning everybody. You got to stop.
They can't be stopped, brother.
You got to stop them, Josh.
They could play like trash all season long, and then it comes January, and they look like the Chiefs again. They look like the Chiefs. They're in their bag. I'm glad you brought up the Peacock point. Yeah, and not only putting on Peacock, but then we have to sit through the ads when we pay for the subscription too. No, NFL fans, no. See, you can't even give them props for playing the game when guys like Robert Griffin III and everybody was screaming that it should be postponed. But yeah, you're right on that one.
All right, let's go to Jared Hallett. Jared, what's up? He says, didn't the Cowboys show everyone who they were when they lost to the Cardinals early in the season? They could easily disappoint any given week. Well, that game was on the road. We're not used to seeing the Cowboys lose like this at home.
I didn't need to see the Cowboys with Dak Prescott lose to the Cardinals to tell you they're going to panic in the playoffs. It's more because I've watched these men in the playoffs. Like, this is who they are. Build the snowman. Oh, I get done. I take a look back at it. Oh, it's a choke artist in the playoffs. Like, I didn't need the Cardinals. It's the NFL, right? The NFL regular season. That's what we say betting the NFL is the hardest, because the margin for error, or the margin between the worst team and the best team, is so much smaller than it is in college that really anything can happen. And look, some people will lose to the Cardinals in the regular season, but then they get in the postseason and it's build the Transformer or the Mega Ranger. Some people just hits different. Like the Texans on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've seen the Texans look good, right? But during the regular season, surprised everybody. It's been a cool story, right? Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, I'm bringing the biscuits to Grandma. And then she gets eaten on the trail. Like, it's CSI, Nottingham, whatever, going in there to look at it. It wasn't just a cute story. The playoffs come, and what do? They dominate. The Browns had the best defense in the NFL. And you dropped 38 in 3 quarters on. I know you had 2 pick sixes, but they were moving the ball on offense, and every time the Browns would score, the Texans would answer.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you some guys, and we've got to see more, right, from C.J. Stroud. By the way, you talk about young quarterbacks in the league. Go put Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud's numbers next to each other of the wild card playoffs. Both absolutely just ate like a fat kid at Thanksgiving. And we'll see about the Texans. But some people, and I said this about C.J. Stroud. When did C.J. Stroud have his best game? Against who? Georgia.
Yeah.
In the playoff. He saves his biggest games, or his best games, for the biggest games. And that's something that you're that's not Maybelline. You're born with that.
And both those quarterbacks balled against the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, talk about defenses disappearing. Blaine, we talked about the Browns all season long. I mean, it looked like they didn't even show up.
Well, like, that's the difference. And it's been so weird this year. We're talking about the Cowboys from home and away. The Browns at home, best defense in the NFL. It's not close. The Browns on the road, one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
Especially in the air, yeah.
Look, everything C.J. Stroud does, I'm just like, that's how it's supposed to look. That is how it is supposed to look. The kid is absolutely silky smooth. And they got a bunch of young guys, too. And they don't even got some of their best guys out there.
Dude, Nico Collins is a
Nico
dog.
Collins.
Yeah, he is,
first
man.
of all, tree. Huge, long, Slenderman, and
Ohio
fast.
State.
I mean, Tank Dell, all these pieces, these young pieces. Will Anderson showing up, absolute monster. A bunch of young linebackers running around for D'Amico Ryans. I thought the Browns were the team you didn't want to see in the playoffs. Turned out to be the Texans.
Well, yeah, and David, I do, before we get back to the chat, remember, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to get to these donos too at the end if they're not topic relevant. But it's speaking of defense, I'm going to make sure we make this point with the Rams and the Lions as well as we move on. The talk, and it should have been, was it was the first ever playoff game with quarterbacks that used to be on each team, right? Going against each other. Jared Goff used to be in the Rams. Matt Stafford used to be in the Lions. I thought it was such a poignant moment. I do want to point this out before the game when Matt Stafford had his kids and stuff on the field, all three of his children born in Detroit. Obviously that city means a lot to them. They said they were kind of confused because they're so used to rooting on the Lions that now they have to root against them when daddy's the quarterback of the Rams. But seeing them on the field pregame, I thought that was an incredible moment for a boy from Georgia, right? Or Texas, right? That from Texas that went to Georgia. That's now the Jackie Moon of Michigan, of Detroit. But everybody talked about the offense. We talked about Puka, who got his, right? We talked about David Montgomery. By the way, Blaine, congratulations on hitting 2 more first-time touchdown scores. I mean, good God, man.
We hit the over next time, maybe.
Yeah, good God. Like, so at some point, the Men in Black are going to show up. But and Blaine, I do gotta give you a little bit of smoke on this one.
What do you want?
You were very worried about the Lions' defense, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. But I think the biggest story coming out of this Rams and Lions game yesterday was that both defenses in the second half were able to stand up. And the Lions, we talk about winning in multiple ways. We know the Gumball Smugglers legit. We know the Sun Gods legit. Jahmyr Gibbs, J-Mo, all them. But that defense holding the Rams to 6 points in the second half ended up saving their season in the playoffs. And watching their GM after they won the first playoff game for the first time in, I think, 32 years, man, it shows you how much it means.
Well, the difference in this game, like it comes down to really simple things, especially when it comes to defense. And Jake knows this as well, being a defensive guy himself. Red zone.
Yeah.
The Lions won the red zone,
yes.
scored on more attempts, and you gave up field goals against the Rams. That's the difference in playoff games. The little things. I thought Jared Goff was just protected so well the entire night with that offensive line up front. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, all these guys, all these little weapons that you have, the ticket toys that you have if you're the Lions, and who shows up? Your defense, which I still get worried about. I still get worried about it. This game was at home, and you're going to play a lot better teams than what you just saw in the Rams. But their receiving core, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, all these guys that have Kyron Williams being back at running back. Good for the Lions. It's going to be interesting, man. I still worry about their defense, though.
The Lions played defense in a way that we talked about Michigan possibly playing against Washington when we previewed that game. Are you going to umbrella in such a way that allows explosive plays from 20 to 20, but then you can bow up in the red zone? And the Lions at least know who they are. They say, hey, let's be the type of defense that when we get inside the 20 and the box is constricted, then that's when we're at our best against a quarterback in Matt Stafford who really can put the football wherever he wants. And they did that. In terms of the narrative, Usually I don't get emotionally invested in NFL games anymore, but this one was different. This one was really special. An awesome storyline with both of these guys being traded for each other. Matt Stafford, the all-time leading passer in Detroit Lions history. The city still loves him, obviously, but they love this team as well, and this team is accomplishing even more than Matt Stafford was able to when he's there. There's no vitriol in this scenario. There's no loser in this scenario. Matt Stafford went to LA. He won his Super Bowl. This team right here with Jared Goff is doing something very, very special. They have a chance to possibly play for a Super Bowl. I thought it was fantastic all the way around, and just it's awesome for the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan.
Yeah, hey, you remember the time Jamel Hill said that it was racist that they hired Dan Campbell? And then now all of a sudden,
no, I try and forget what she says.
Yeah, I just somebody.
I do remember the one where Stephen A. Smith said the Texans were racist for firing Lovie Smith, and then they hired DeMeco Ryans and drafted C.J. Stroud, and they won a playoff wild card game too.
Maybe in some I'm going to get to the chat here, Blaine, before we preview these two games today. Maybe there's some legitimate thought in whenever Stephen A. Smith or Jamel Hill or some of these other guys that just use the race card and all this stuff to try and divide us. Whenever they're saying one thing, you should fade them as an owner. If I was the owner, but as crazy as David Tepper is, if Jamel Hill was well, it would be racist to hire Jim Harbaugh if I were the Panthers. And Stephen A was yeah, definitely, I would hire him immediately because you would have success. Just fade him. Do that because these people don't know anything about sports, right? So it just fade them. Fade, just like you fade a guy in betting that can't win. I would fade exactly everything that came out of some people's mouths. I would just do that. But speaking of some people's mouths, let's get to the chat, Blaine.
Let's get to Christina. It says, where did the whole Jared Goff, the gumball smuggler, come to fruition?
It's a great question.
Yeah, man, I think we just said it one day because it looks like he's smuggling gumballs in his cheeks. Like he's got those cheeks like it looks like he's on a Welch's grape juice commercial.
Blaine, nothing to say? You started this thing, didn't you?
A Welch's grapefruit commercial?
That's what I'm saying. Like he's got cheeks like that little girl. She's like, oh, it's Welch's. It's so good. I can't remember what she says. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Let's go to PD. Says CJ Stroud will have 4 interceptions against the Ravens defense. Nobody is stopping them.
Yeah, look, I think you'd be crazy not to look at the Ravens right now and say, yeah, they're the team to beat. I mean, them and the Niners, I guess, would be the best way to put it. I mean, obviously, those are two teams that are at the top of their game right now. But listen, I think they're playing with house money. Right? I called the Browns-Texans game a house money game. You already won a playoff game if you're the Texans, and year one with C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. They're like on the opposite side of Cowboys fans. Like as pissed off and as let down as Cowboy fans are, the Texans are exactly in the opposite camp of, hey, we're just walking through the city picking up money. That's it. Like, oh, well, it's house money. So, look, he may go out there against the Ravens and ball. Who the hell knows? The fact that we're even entertaining that thought should tell you how well the Texans have done under year one in DeMeco Ryans. Because the Ravens, you talk about balance, talk about complimentary football. It's a problem. Baltimore's a problem. And I'm not talking about all the rats and stuff they got running around there.
The Ravens do have Mike McDonald and a Harbaugh, so that's been C.J. Stroud's kryptonite. So I like that point.
True. Let's go to the bro counselor. What's up? He says C.J. Stroud's got that dog in him.
Yeah.
Just like that. Never underestimate CJ, and the Texans have a good future core to build around. Where do you see the Texans the next few years?
Being good.
I mean, I think this is the new norm. I think the question's going to come for the Texans. Number one, what happens when people start coming and trying to take your assistants? And what happens when the book is out on you, right? We always talk about this in baseball. We talk about it in all sports. That it's the adjustment to the adjustment, right? How do you adjust when they adjust? And DeMeco knows that. He knows the game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But you just continue to improve. And I think CJ and this core, this group are going to continue to put in the work. And look, they can grow together. You're in such a great situation where you don't have a bunch of guys that are eating a ton of money contractually where, you're almost having to bend the knee to them. You can grow together as young guys and have success, which is a lot of fun.
You're going to have to pay CJ a solar system.
Yeah, you would. You will. God. But again, that I would love to have that problem.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The young guy we drafted at number in the top 3 or whatever at number 1 actually worked out so good that we're going to have to give him half the Rockets and half of the next Ariana Grande concert money in Houston.
That's a lot. Hit that like and subscribe button, guys. If you donate, I will read if it's on topic. Let's go to QIFD at Crane and Company. I'm watching you guys show instead of ESPN 7 days a week and twice on Sundays.
Yeah, you're a smart man.
Love it.
In the water cooler. There's a reason that place is going down quicker than the Titanic. My thing is I'm not going to sit on the deck and play the violin while it goes down.
There's room on the raft, Rose. There's room on the raft.
Move your big ass over on the raft, Kate Winslet. Leo's dead. Leo's dead because you wouldn't move over on the floating door. That was the door to like a dining room too. Scoot over. Ooh, gross. Like if I'm Leo DiCaprio, listen, I love my wife. I'm finding a way to get on that door, right? Because I know they're coming. I'm gonna get pissed off.
Let's go to Michael from Texas. What's up, Mike? Jake, your point about Dak in the playoffs is spot on, but it's too early to tell about Lamar in the playoffs.
That's a good point.
I mean, yes, I think it's a lot different.
And he says, you suck, and no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's a lot different, I think, when you're the quarterback of the Cowboys as opposed to the quarterback of the Ravens. I still think, I still think people don't give Lamar Jackson enough credit for his ability as a thrower, like and as a diagnoser and as a dissector. It's like anytime a guy can run. Or a guy, and look, Lamar Jackson, and I'm talking in the NFL too, just different moving, right? Like he did things even in college that I haven't. Like Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, right? Yeah. And he deserved to win the Heisman. He is flying. What Lamar used to do to people in the open field, I mean, in at least half the continuous United States is against the law. But his growth as a passer, I just think the expectation for Lamar has not nearly been what it's been for Dak. Because of the Cowboys, yes. But I think people all of a sudden in their mind now, and this is one of the biggest problems that I thought with the way the Cowboys have used Dak, I thought they should have used him more like the Eagles have used Jalen Hurts, is that Dak, to me, isn't this just pure pocket passer. Like, you tried to fit a square peg in a round hole, and now Dak thinks that. When was Dak cooking at his finest? I'm not saying Dak needs to go run power read 30 times a game or Q power or Q counter 30 times a game, but they tried to turn a monster truck into a drag racing car, and you can't do that. That's not how this works, and it's the Cowboys. You mix that together. We'll see about Lamar, but I just think the expectation's different. Good, bad, or indifferent.
All right, let's go to Bengal Tiger. He says, yet Lamar still hasn't proved himself as a playoff and a leader in the playoffs.
This will be a big playoffs for Lamar.
Yeah.
Big playoffs for him, man.
And he got the bag, right? So it's not the money aspect.
And more important than that, he stayed healthy for the first time in the last 3 seasons. He stayed healthy, probably going to win the MVP. Now it's time to go do it in the playoffs.
Well, if I was Jaden Daniels, the end of the year, the first person I'm calling is Lamar Jackson. I need you. I need you to explain it to me as not that I don't know what's going on, but how you've been hurt. You've ran it too much at times. You're elusive like I am, but Jaden Daniels gets squared up a lot. Like, Jaden Daniels does not have the body type or the frame to be able to sustain some of the hits that even Lamar did, right? Earlier in his career. So I think Jaden Daniels needs to turn on the tape of Lamar this year and watch the way he operates. Not that you never run, right? But you're not the size of Josh Allen. Like, you're not going to be able to survive, these Fletcher Cox catching you up. Fletcher Cox would, if he slammed Jaden Daniels, he'd be like Mr. Potato Head. Like, there'd be a leg, a nose, glasses, an eyebrow. There'd be all type of stuff all over the field. So that's kind of a good learning situation, I think, for Jaden.
I was going to Cuse mode. He said, it's still mind-boggling to me that the Packers have only had 3 starting quarterbacks since 1991, and Love is a great pick right now, and his stock continues to improve.
Think about this here. Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. Only one of those guys won a playoff game in their first year as the starter, and it's Jordan Love.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? Well, if you're able to run the ball like that, I mean, and you're playing from ahead like that in this game, I will say I like Jordan Love. I like the things that Jordan Love has done. Obviously, you got to feel good as a Packers fan. But somebody said earlier CJ Stroud's going to go throw 4 picks the next game. I think it may be Jordan Love that does that.
Really?
See.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to Blake Bay. He says, just remember the Chiefs are still defending champions, and they know how to do it in the playoffs.
Yes, they are, for a reason.
It's like you look at, like, Eli Manning, man. Like, you getting them, we snuck in. Like, they're 9-8. We snuck it. Here we go.
Yeah.
For some guys, it just makes sense. Some guys, that added pressure of, hey, it's one and done. It's either this or go home. Sometimes it helps them.
All right, let's go to Crypto Capstone with the $10 donation. Appreciate it, brother. He says, word is that T-Rob interviewed 2 hours ago with Coach DeBoer for the DC position. Thoughts on his development?
He's the guy I would have hired. Right. You talking about not just to re-recruit your own players, not just to keep Caleb Downs there, who's the guy that I would keep an eye on. But look, T-Rob's ready. Like, T-Rob's been ready, right? He's been around the league, played in the SEC. Not that you have to play in the SEC to be able to coach in the SEC, obviously, but he understands the type players that Alabama has right now. I think he could make the transition even easier, but this dude knows ball. And number one, and most importantly, he is an absolute menace on the recruiting trail. Menace on the recruiting trail. I was hoping Auburn would hire him. He played at Auburn. A guy that could come in. I know Charles Kelly's a guy that's got a lot of cachet in Auburn, and that's great. But I feel like, T-Rob at Auburn with some of the guys they have, what would have been a grand slam. But I think Kalen DeBoer would be remiss if he didn't seriously, and obviously it's looking like he is with T-Rob, seriously consider him as a defensive coordinator. Man's a hell of a coach, a hell of a recruiter, be a great fit at Alabama. He comes from that Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, school of defense. He understands how to do it. So yeah, I think they'd be smart to do it.
So isn't he going to Georgia though?
Yeah, he went to Georgia as because remember Muschamp wanted to spend more time with his family, so T-Rob went over there to kind of take that position over, be on staff. and now it seems like Alabama may give him a shot at being the defensive coordinator, which again I think would be smart.
I was going to CG87343 with the $5 donation. Appreciate it, brother. Back to the NFL. How is it the Cowboys keep choking in the playoffs? Can't put it all on Dak. Also, congrats to the Lions for the win last night, first since '91.
Look, I mean, it's at this point, it's got to be a DNA thing, right? Like it's just it's not some anomaly or just bad luck, right? You got beaten in every phase yesterday. Like it was just a thorough, but we've seen the Cowboys lose in so many different ways in the playoffs. And always there's an old saying that in times like this, when things are trendy and people are looking for an explanation on why this happens, why that happens, it's pretty simple. At the end of the day, winners win and losers lose. Doesn't matter how you win, doesn't matter how you lose. Teams that are just, and I don't mean losers as in they're bad people, but they're just not winners. You find ways to lose, right? It's Murphy's Law. What will go wrong, what can go wrong, will go wrong. And it seems like with the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think it's one person. I think it's some infection where multiple people have to get out to get it out. Do you blow it up and start it over? I don't know. I'm not in the building. But at this point, with the multitude of ways that the Cowboys have found to let their fan base down and to let that building down, at some point, y'all got some losers in there, man. Like it is what it is. Winners win and losers lose. You find a way to win or you find a way to lose. It's that simple to me.
Let's go to B&A Wildcat. He says, Chiefs fans, I put up with bad calls, bad kicking, good seasons, and bad playoffs for decades. This time with Mahomes and Andy Reid is special, and it needs to be appreciated.
Yeah.
Winners win. Losers lose.
But aren't winners just losers who win?
David,
now we're getting somewhere.
Is where you put a bow on it. Let's get into a couple of these games for tonight. We're going to get back to the chat. Then obviously drop our bets for today. Boys, Eagles, Bucks.
Yeah.
Cone. I love the under. Is it 43.5?
Yeah, you say that. You say that. I've been taking unders. I took the Browns-Texans under. Hey, playoff football. That thing got smashed in the first half.
Yeah, that was weird.
Took the under for the same reasons in the Cowboys-Packers game. Cowboys can't stop anybody, so I don't know what to do at this point. Obviously, I'm going to be pulling for my boy, Brandon Graham. He's still doing it at the highest level. I love the guy. It's just Blaine is starting to smell more and more like the Bucks to me. It's starting to. I'm coming over to the Baker train, home field advantage, and like at this, the playoffs have shown me right now. Except for the way the Chiefs handled business, it's like whoever you don't think is going to win is going to win. And Jake, to your point, you're talking about teams with the less experience in the playoffs. I saw a stat yesterday, something like the teams with less playoff experience in the matchup are over 500% winning the last couple of years.
Wow, that's incredible. That want to. Blaine, what do you think, bud?
God, watching the Chiefs like just show up and just be the Chiefs kind of scares me for this Eagles Bucks game. But I do know this. I know this is the things I know. All right. Baker having a damn good year. You can pull up his stats with a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. Caught a lot of flack saying Baker could be a starter somewhere. Mike Evans. I can't tell if Mike Evans is 18 or 73. All right, but he's having a
That's exactly how he wants it too.
Phenomenal
that man scored
year,
like 11 touchdowns.
Chris Godwin, the running back they have, who's a true 3-down back.
Rashad White.
Yeah, and with the defense the secondary, the things they have running around at linebacker, they have the ingredients to win a couple playoff games. But then you flip it to the other side. The secondary for the Eagles, there's not a magical new group coming in just for this game that they're pulling from somewhere and like, oh, here are the real guys. Don't worry, we just want to make it to the playoffs.
Blaze.
They're not they're not that good in the secondary. You have all these weapons on offense. I heard there's some beef going around with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. You have Devontae Smith, and it's starting to kind of leak in that locker room, right? And you can see that. Like, this stuff is disease. You got
beef leak?
What'd you say?
There's a beef leak in the locker room?
The old beef leak.
The old beef leak.
The beef leak, man. You can't have it.
Right, that's the only thing you do. But I like the Bucks in this game at home, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Give them me money line. I don't even want the points.
Wow.
Man, I'm like in the Bucks plus 3.5 and the under 43.5 parlayed together. Little plus money bet. I'm going to tweet that out when we get off the show. I got one more to go with it. Here's what I'll say. The Eagles to me went from a rough and tough, team Philly mindset. Like I'm just waiting for like Vince Papale to run down on kickoff like last year going to the Super Bowl. Now this year they just, it's kind of like She-Wolf off Beer Fest. It's just like a strawberry beer. Like it's just like refined and this hurts and we're not super physical. We're getting ran through on defense. And then you go up against a Buccaneers team, which if there is not a mascot that is more indicative of a team than the Pirate or the Buccaneers for Tampa Bay, because they're grimy, right? They're grimy. They're nasty, right? They're physical. Every chance they get, they're going to slip one on you. Like they're just grimy. And that's exactly the opposite of what you want to see if you're the Eagles right now. With the way you're playing, they want to pound the ball on the ground, run play action. Baker, he's dangerous, but also safe. Like it's just good enough to be able to do that. And then defensively, they tackle pretty well in space. Secondary going against the Eagles. I know A.J. Brown's hurt a little bit. They've been banged up a little bit in the Buccaneers secondary. I'm interested to see that matchup. But just mindset-wise, I feel like this Buccaneers team has the tough mindset that Philly had last year, and Philly just doesn't have it this year. It's different. It's like they went from the duplex to the suburbs, and now they're too good to go to CC's or something. Like, now you're not
CC's
hanging
is
around.
elite. Okay.
Yeah, it is elite. It is elite.
CC's is elite.
But like you're just too cool to hang out with your old group of friends because all of a sudden, they still shop at Dollar General. Right now you're going over to Whole Foods, getting chicken salad with like cranberries in it and stuff.
Well, we wondered all offseason, will the Eagles regress at all a year after they go to the Super Bowl, a year after the book is sort of out on Jalen Hurts having his best season, and you lose both coordinators? The problem is they started 10 of 11. They won 10 of the first 11 games. That's what made me think, hey, they're still the best team in the NFL. And then down the stretch, you lose 5 of the last 6. Like that, they did it in a completely different way than the 49ers, who had that lull in the middle of the season when they were banged up. They did it in a different way than some of these other teams. But, man, that's what surprises me the most. Lose 5 out of the last 6, and now you're rewarded with that by having to go on the road to play Tampa Bay. I don't know, man. It smells funny to me.
Yeah. Tampa Bay is just not the team you want. You want to fight in a bar.
Well, they're just like FAU. Like last year, like in college basketball, you're just like, I don't want to play these guys. They're just going to go in there and they just fight to get every rebound, offense or defense, right? They want to get the ball in the post and play inside out. They're diving for every single ball. Like
the Eagles are going to play Virginia.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to play Virginia. That's exactly right. You're like, God, dude, how do we score 53 points in basketball? Like, so, but then we got the Bills and Steelers, which I don't know if there will be 5 points scored in that game. But look, the weather's still going to be awful. I agree with them moving it. I do think, obviously, the bad weather favors the Steelers because, well, for lack of a better term, Steelers really can't throw the ball and the Bills can. So that kind of evens that out a little bit. The Steelers got Najee. I mean, he's a heavy back. Warren. They got like the big, tall, heavy back, and they got the little guy that's built like a FedEx box. We just run it right through you. I do like the Bills, though. I think Josh Allen on the ground, actually Josh Allen's legs, is going to be the difference in this one. If there's ever a time to use them, it's right now. But, the 10 points, that's a lot in this game with these elements, with your best ability, and I love James Cook and the Bills' running ability, but still Josh Allen being able to recreate out of the pocket, whether it be with his legs, with his arm. I still think that's when the Bills are the most dangerous. I like the Bills to win, but I like the Steelers to cover, and I like the under 38.5. It's an unders day. It's an under Monday.
Yeah, I'm taking the under in this one as well. Under 38.5. That's minus 110, and then I'm taking the Bucks plus 2.5 at plus 100.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, I mean, obviously, after yesterday, if I'm going to take anything, it's going to be a first touchdown bet. It just feels like a Dalton Kincaid touchdown to me in the Bills game.
Maybe a little shovel pass.
Yeah, maybe a little tight end screen, maybe a little boot, get him out there. But I like the Bills. I don't like the Bills big in this game, to be honest. I think they covered the spread. I think Bills right now, if you look at the last couple of weeks that they played, when they've been fully healthy, the Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen connection, it's starting to heat back up. And I think that's what kicks the Bills. That's what gets the Bills going on offense. If those guys are going, the James Cooks are going, the Shakurs are going.
Those are their cereal box guys. Like those are the two guys in the front of the cereal boxes. Like, they get rocking and rolling. The whole city turns up.
No, yeah. So I think I like the Bills in this game, but if you're a betting man or a betting woman, whatever you prefer, the Buccaneers money line, Bills money line, little parlay 2 leg is probably a good bet.
Yeah, that smells that smells right. That smells right. That's not a beef league. Typically we take calls from 7:30 to 8. Obviously, since we're remote, because we're having our own weather issue. I need to look out here. Man, it's still coming.
I'm seeing it right now, man. Snow's just falling.
Still coming down.
Yeah. You're about to take the kids out for a little snow day.
Oh yeah, you got to get some videos. We're gonna take the dogs out there. I'm gonna let them run around and slip around. But all right,
I'm gonna take myself out there. And
Blaine, you ought to go out there and just like sit out there and then just come back in.
I'm gonna go out there and just yell at people when they drive past in their cars.
Dude, by the way, have y'all seen, like, before you get to the chat, have you seen the TikToks of the guy who's like in his basement, but he's like a grown up, but he's like 13-year-old me when like my parents wouldn't let me play video games, and it's like that Linkin Park song in the background, and he's just like angry. Dude, I'm telling you.
Have y'all seen the Helen Keller songs on TikTok?
Yeah, Blaine, you sent them to us in the group chat the other day.
If you have a chance,
the amount of Helen Keller just
I've got to become a Helen Keller defender.
You are.
If you're in the chat, listen, and you have TikTok, all right, go to Helen Keller cover songs on TikTok.
You're the worst, man. You're the worst. You're terrible.
You're welcome. I didn't make it.
Blaine,
no, you're just out here distributing.
Hell, a long time ago.
He's got a Dominic Zelenik, who's also a Russian spy. How'd you get in here, Dominic? No, I'm just kidding. So I've been a Lions fan for my entire life. I've never seen this level of praise for Matt Stafford from media pundits when he was at Detroit. Also, kiss my ass, sports media, Campbell over Sean McVay, baby.
Somebody texted me yesterday. I'm not going to say who. The minute the Lions won, somebody said, "Hey, at least Texas A&M finally won something." Thought that was nice.
The head coach, yeah.
It was Dan Campbell, yeah. But no, I mean, I'm really happy for Lions fans. And look, I think two things can be true at once. I've always been a big Matt Stafford fan. Always enjoyed the way Matt's gone about his business. I think he's one of the toughest guys in the league. And I know it didn't work out in the postseason wise for Detroit when Matt was there, but I feel like he gave everything and they gave everything to him. And if it was going to be against somebody, I'm kind of glad it was against Matt Stafford. That kind of brought it full circle. But just a very intriguing, intricate matchup yesterday, and just happy for Lions fans.
And it was the best ball game of the bunch too.
Best ball game of the bunch. Agreed.
Yeah, it felt like, to me, it felt like a Thanos situation with Matt Stafford, right? You just sit there and you look at what you've created, as it comes to fruition.
Yes, he walked so Jared Goff could goofily run around.
Yes. All right, let's go to B&A Wildcat with a $12 donation. Appreciate it, brother. He says, years from now, if Kalen DeBoer fails, what was the thing that hurt him the most?
Recruiting.
Yeah, recruiting.
Recruiting.
I would say recruiting, or it's, and I know he understands this. You don't take this job without understanding it. And I'll say it. If I had to say it on every show, I'll say it on every show. The difference in coaching in the SEC is not the one-off against Georgia hey, you just got to beat LSU. That's it. And we can cruise through the rest. It's that grind, and it's only getting harder, right? Now, the 12-team playoff helps, gives you a chance at the end. I get that. But Kentucky's not going anywhere. Ole Miss is going to have the best team they've had in a really long time. Kirby and Georgia and LSU and Tennessee with Nico and Auburn and Hugh Freeze. Can they figure it out? And it's just Florida, eventually it's going to turn around there. It's that week in, week out. A great example is watching college basketball in the SEC too right now, I think. It's that there's no nights off. They're outside of Vanderbilt, ironically, which is the same thing in football. But outside of them, there's no nights off in this league. And I think that's the hardest part about it. That's the hardest grind to get through.
I was got a Heartbroken Hog. He said, guys, for call-ins, y'all should have just gave out y'all cell phone numbers for the day.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. It'd definitely be a great idea. There'd be people marching through the snow with pitchforks and torches.
That would be wild. Let's go to Justin Alfaretti. I didn't get to this earlier, but I'll get to it now. Y'all kind of hit on it. Let's hit on it again with a $2 donation. He says, who do y'all think will be Arizona's next head football coach?
When I look at Arizona, I look at either you're going to go get a guy that's at a group of 5 right now, that is willing to take it. Because I don't think Jamie Chadwell is taking the Arizona job. I think he's waiting for something bigger, right? I don't think a lot of these guys, would Kane Womack at South Alabama take it? I think he'd be a good hire if you're going to go that route. Or do you go the coordinator route, right? Do you go to, I know Jesse Minter's probably going to the NFL, but you look at that coordinator list and you say, hey, Tommy Rees, maybe we should legitimately give you a shot to be a head coach out here. I'm very interested to see what route they go, but I think the Arizona job right now looks a whole hell of a lot more pretty than it did before Jedd Fisch did what he did. And any Arizona fan that is mad at Jedd Fisch or feels betrayed by Jedd Fisch, you should be thanking Jedd Fisch, because he has now made you relevant.
Mm-hmm.
He has now made you relevant in the college football world. He has now made you more attractive for coaches that can go there and say, you know what? I can win at Arizona. You know what? Maybe this isn't just a basketball school, right, where you have no chance to have consistent success in football. Flipping that narrative, and Jedd Fisch is the one who started it.
I was going to Jermaine Mims. He says, now, well, with all this content age, if DeBoer will be successful, at what point is that hate going to be objective, or is it going to always be this disgusting when talking anything about Alabama football?
I think whenever you bring up somebody like Alabama, right, it's you're either on one or two sides of the fence, right? It's almost like the Yankees. I mean, you're never going to have, whether it's Alabama or whether it's LSU, people that put out content, you're going to have biases, right? The hardest part is kind of keep your bias out, but there's so much. Alabama's such a big brand, and they've won so big that with DeBoer, you're either going to get, from the Alabama fan base, this is the greatest hire of all time, that nobody's going to skip a beat, right? Or you're going to get people who aren't Alabama fans and say, oh, he's screwed Alabama. They're never going to win again. They're going to go back in the dark ages. You don't have a lot of people that are right in the middle that are saying, hey, we really don't know yet. Because I don't think you know until you know when you coach in the SEC, right? We're going to have to see it first. We can speculate. We can try and contrive all these things from his past and this, that, and the other. But until you're in this league, you don't know. So, like when we talk about it, I try and talk about it in the fact that it didn't matter if you're replacing Nick Saban in Alabama, if you're replacing Nick Saban at LSU, if you're replacing Nick Saban at USC, whenever you're replacing the greatest of all time, not just at that school, but in that sport, you're probably not going to get the same result. But that doesn't mean you can't get really good results. That doesn't mean you're going to fall off a cliff. So you'll have some people that are fans of Alabama that just nothing Kalen DeBoer has ever done is bad. Then you have people that are not fans of Alabama that nothing that Kalen DeBoer has done is ever good, and he was lucky, and it's because he was this or because he was there. So that's why you come here. We try and tell you like what we think is really going to happen without having fan bias or any of that stuff in, because neither one of them schools sent me a check yet, buddy. So I don't know.
Mine neither.
Yeah.
Mine either. When you ask, if Kalen DeBoer doesn't work out at Alabama, what will be the reasoning? It may just, in fact, be Alabama expectations moving forward too. We don't know what the level of patience going to be with them or the powers that be with Greg Byrne at AD.
Without a doubt.
Yep, that's a good point. Let's go to, first of all, give a shout out to Devin. Over the weekend, had a baby. Both of them were safe. Devin, congratulations.
Let's go.
Congrats, Devin.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
That's awesome. We need picks.
Let me go through these. We have a couple of donations before we ride out of here. Let's go to Voltar with a $5 donation. Can I get a happy birthday for Mama Voltar? He wants a song, but you're definitely not getting that. She went to Nashville for her birthday weekend, hoping she can make it back safely today. Happy birthday, Mama.
Happy level up
Happy
day.
birthday. Happy level up day. Let's get it.
All right. A little Nashville action. Look, they all come to Nashville. I swear they do.
The
All right.
real
Let's get to this
baby.
poll. That's all the donations for the day. Chat. Great job. All right. The poll is, was Kalen DeBoer the right hire for Alabama?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. 58%.
65%.
Yes, 85%.
Wow.
They
See,
believe.
Jermaine, that's one side of the – a lot of you fell on one side of the fence. But listen,
They believe.
Nobody said like greatest hire of all time. Nobody said worst hire of all time. I'm going to find it fascinating to see the staff he puts around him. I hope they hire T-Rob as defensive coordinator. T-Rob definitely deserves it, man. But now we're going to tweet out our bets as well. Obviously, it's been a little bit different. No call-ins today.
Yeah, quickly, 2 donations. Ducky with the $12 donation. Quack. 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 Quack.
Yes.
Quack.
Yes. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys. Any parting thoughts here?
Yes. My parting thought is Sam Giddens with a $2 donation. What is a woman? What is a woman? Oh, wait. Just watch Matt Walsh throw.
I've never seen Matt throw.
I haven't either.
Me neither.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I don't know. I'm sure Knowles can't throw. That's the one I'm
there's
100%
no chance.
sure. But no, we appreciate you guys. We're going to be live again tomorrow morning. Probably, I'm guessing, going to be remote again, so we may not have call-ins for a couple more days. But go grab some merch, too, as well. Got some great hoodies, candles, all type of stuff. If you haven't seen Lady Ballers, check that out. But we appreciate y'all. Catch y'all in the morning. Find us all over social media as well. Give Crane & Company a follow. And like the chances of the Cowboys not blowing into the playoffs in 2024, we're going. Gone. Told you.